Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the What is Cycling podcast. I'm Elijah Townsend, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking with Chris Thorpe. Chris is not only a beast on the bike, but he is breaking into the ultra-endurance scene and in a big way. He won the Rockstar 250 Gravel race and will be testing himself at Unbound XL later this year. Join our conversation today as we discuss the Rockstar 250, training, and running into bears. Yes, running into bears. So let's get started. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm very excited to have you on. First off, hats off to you. You absolutely crushed the Rockstar 250 gravel race. And it's such an impressive effort that I saw on Strava. So I can't wait to tell all the listeners about it. But so I guess first off, why don't you just tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name's Chris Thorpe. I'm a current student at VCU studying information systems. I'm 24 years old, and I am in love with endurance racing.
So how did you get into the endurance racing? Because I love endurance racing too, and I'm trying to get back into that realm. But with COVID and the pandemic and everything, it's kind of thrown me off track. But you've stayed true to it. And I've seen it on Strava with your adventure and huge ultra endurance rides. But like, how did you figure out that you like that style of riding?
So I started riding with some friends a few years ago. They're the average pole crew in Richmond. And one day, one of my friends, Brooke, was like, "We should do like a 183-mile ride." And I'm like, okay. And I've never done anything like it before up until that point. So we go up and down the Blue Ridge. It's like 18K climbing, 183 miles, like 10 hours. It was awesome. It was super hard, but it left me with such a feeling of, I want to do this again. I want to do this more. I want to do it better.
And so before getting into that, did you, like, I know with a lot of people before they get into the ultra endurance stuff, they kind of like have this wall that they have to break through. Because for me, it was like, I kept riding like 60 miles and I was like, I just don't see how people can ride 100 miles. And then I got more hours on the saddle and then I broke that wall of 100. And then I'm like, well, now let's see what else is possible. So, like, did you ever have that wall that you really had to break through?
So for the longest time, like truly the longest time, I was scared to like ride more than 2-3 hours. I'm like, dude, I can't do it. Like, what happens if I can't do it? I'm just stuck there. And then one day I was like, I'll just go a bit further. And then suddenly I found myself doing 4-hour rides comfortably. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's shocking. And then I just realized I can go almost indefinitely as long as I get more food, more water. And that really, really did help me.
Yeah, and that's like definitely a pretty interesting thing to learn about yourself as a cyclist, to see like how much fuel you can take in, how your body processes it, how often you have to eat, and just keep refueling that engine to keep going.
Oh, that's such an important thing.
On the intro, we talked about the Rockstar Gravel 250, but will you tell the listeners about that race?
Okay, so definitely. The Rockstar 250 has 3 categories: a paved, a gravel, and a trail. The one I did was the gravel. It is a 250-mile unsupported bike race off-road from Harrisonburg to Roanoke, taking a lot of Jeep roads, gravelly roads, just beautiful, out-of-the-way roads. It brings you through Covington, all the way around Roanoke, and finally into Roanoke.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so for the listeners, Chris won the race. He had a few technical difficulties and was able to claw back and win the race. But the first question about the race I want to ask is, are you mad that you didn't Everest? Because you're at like 28,000 some feet. And I would be so livid if I didn't get that extra, like, what, you were like 800 feet away or something?
Was I?
You were so close. So I was like, man, I would have gone back and found a hill and just done repeats until I Everested.
I had no idea in the moment. My Garmin doesn't have elevation climbed.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, you were so close. I saw that, and that was the first thing that popped into my mind is like, you were so close.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. But man, it was a great effort. So in doing that distance, how did you focus your training on being able to not only do that distance, because I mean, that's just saddle time and getting comfortable, but how were you able to keep that pace and just to start picking off people?
So after going up Reddish Knob, I made the wrong choice of going down Reddish Knob instead of instantly turning onto the death climb. That's an immediate left after you get to
Ooh.
the top of the summit. And I realized, oh no. And everyone in front of me is a mountain biker, so their descending is incredible, and mine is not.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm so
I,
scared.
oh yeah, no, dude, I'm scared. My skin is soft. The
Yeah,
rocks are hard.
exactly.
So I was like, oh, dude, they're catchable. I've got time. I can catch them. And I start descending, take it relatively safely. I take a little bit of risk, which is outside normal for me, but and I decided I'm just gonna try as hard as I can, catch them at the first store stop, and I realize they're not there. People have already passed before, are only just now leaving, and I'm like, oh no, I am really far behind because I was hoping to just catch them there, quickly grab some food, and just run out and eat it on the bike. So that didn't happen, and at this point, I'd probably gassed myself pretty hard trying to get to the store stop, averaging like maybe 280 something watts for a while. And for this viewer reference, I'm like 150, 155-ish pounds. Um, so in the just in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's people in front of me. I'm gonna go real deep, try and catch them. And I hold some 250-ish watts for hours. Like as long as I'm pedaling, I'm doing like 250.
And what's your
There.
FTP?
340.
Nice. Okay, that's stellar. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, and it just in my head, it's a chase. After every corner, I see. I'm like, this could be it. This could be someone else up there. After every hill, I'm just hoping to see someone, and that just staring through the trees all the way like up there. I'm like, they gotta be right there. They gotta be it. So that really helped. The chase mentality helps so much. It gives you something to focus on other than I got 10 more hours. Oh God.
Yeah, definitely. Because I realize, like, in long distances, I don't know if this happened to you during the race, but I just get so bored. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's just so boring and mind numbing. And you're just like pedaling stroke after stroke after stroke. And then, unless you have something to dedicate your mind to, it is the most soul sucking thing you could possibly do.
It is. I love being on the bike. I love seeing new things, but man, after like 10 hours of just pedaling, you're like,
Yeah, what's this?
I
worth
gotta
it?
think of something else. Yeah, like why am I doing this?
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, what was the longest distance? You said you've done 183,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the longest distance you did before this.
I think my longest before this was 200, but all road.
Oh, okay.
So it hardly compares to 250 of tons of elevation and
And gravel too.
off
Like
road.
for
Yeah, gravel slow.
yeah, for people that don't know, gravel, of course, as Chris was saying, it's slower, but also like it's way more demanding on your body and it beats you up. Like your wrist hurt, you feel like you got carpal tunnel, your elbows, your shoulders, like
The triceps, that's a
yeah,
big one for
everything
me.
hurts because it's just constantly like shaking and stuff. But yeah, that's amazing. How early in the race was it when you made that wrong turn?
Probably 50 miles in, only a few hours. And this resulted in like Jonathan, who ends up getting second place, getting the biggest gap of 40 minutes on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang, 40 minutes.
That's
If
a
that
long time.
that is a long time. And so was this like the hardest mentally and physically like race that you've ever done?
Way more than anything else. I went super deep.
And so what like how did you dig deep and how were you able to actually like come back and pick off people? I know it's kind of like that game element of like, okay, if I get one more, if I get one more. But like
So
once you're going that deep, you go into
yeah.
a dark place. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's real deep and dark and it's not fun to be there.
So at first, I got the top like right after the first store stop. There's a road climb. Then there's a next to a power line. There's a really really hard steep climb. And at this point, I had drinking all my water because it's hot out. And I catch up with someone, and I'm like, dude, my race is over, man. And he's like, no, let's just keep pedaling. And I'm like, yeah, right. Just rephrase your goals. And I was like, I'm gonna just fight for every position, and that was my new goal instead of a time goal. Eventually, we find some water, and that literally saves my life. Like I come back so strong. Have you seen that Simpsons? I mean, not Simpsons. That South Park episode of Randy Marsh saying, "I didn't hear no bell." If not, I could pull up a
Oh,
picture real quick.
I feel like I know that reference,
Let's see.
but I can't think of it.
He was like fighting other dads, and
Oh, yeah. Okay, I
yeah,
know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's this
That was
picture.
you?
Yeah, so I literally heard that sentence in my mind, and I'm like, let's go, let's see how deep we can go.
You need to make that a sticker and put it on your top tube.
Yes. And I was like, at this point, let's see how hard I can make this race. Let's see how deep I can actually go. And that just kind of I just embraced being uncomfortable, embraced the pain. At no point though did my legs actually hurt. I just
That's
didn't
amazing.
feel them, which felt really weird. They just felt I've never had that happen before.
Yeah, just not there, but they're doing something.
They're moving.
Yeah, that's all that matters. I think in those races too, especially once you get into that realm of ultra endurance, like for the short races and crit races and all that stuff, it's about performance and speed and all that stuff. But for those really long races, it's pretty much who can suffer the best the longest.
Yeah.
And it's just that whole mental game too, because a lot of people psych themselves out. They take like you could have chosen to after you made the wrong turn and you caught up to that person, had you not met them, you could have mentally defeated yourself. So just and then hearing that I didn't hear no bell or saying that to yourself like that completely flipped a switch and that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm legitimately still floored in that performance. Later on in the race, I catch Jonathan a few hours later, like legitimately hours of chasing, and I'm racing him to Covington because he's like, "This is the last hill before the next store stop." And I'm like, "I need water. I'm literally out of water
Yeah.
because I had destroyed my water filter trying to make it go faster because it's the Sawyer bag thing." And I'm like,
Oh
"Come
man.
on, go!"
Oh goodness.
So I get there, I get a ton of food. I fill up my bottles, I chug a Powerade and eat like 2 little mini bags of Oreos, and then start rolling. And after not having water for a real long time, your digestive system just kind of turns off. And so I had water, and I was suddenly just really hungry. And I slam all the food I bought, like 4 packs of Pop Tarts, in
All
like
at
the
once.
span of a minute. Like a minute, I'm just like smashing them. Um, and I didn't know it at the time, but this was the last store stop I'd ever get because the last 2 planned were closed.
Oh no.
And I'm like, I get to the first store stop and I'm like, oh no, that's brutal, but I guess I'll keep rolling. There's nothing I can do about that. And I get to the second one and I'm like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, that hurts. Goodness.
You can't raw dog the water either because it's all farmland at that point.
Oh yeah. Oh goodness, parasites and all that stuff too. So
Yeah.
you can't even risk it.
Yeah. So I end up going like the last 90 miles with no food, no water. And I'm just
And
like,
like how do you do that? Because I can't even go like 30, 40 miles without water, much less 90 in a race doing climbing 15,000 feet or whatever. So that's just madness.
I'm like, I didn't come this far to give up at that point. I'm like, I'm going to push it because there's no one coming.
I mean, that's
like,
true. Yeah.
Part of that, I just remind myself, like, there's no one coming to come pick me up. I don't have, my phone's dead.
Oh, man. It's just one thing after another.
Yeah, I have like the little inReach with the SOS button, but I'm like, it's not an emergency. I can still turn the pedals over.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna keep going because that's the only way to Roanoke.
Yeah, I would probably be like blacked out on the side of the road if I didn't have water for that long or food.
I felt real dizzy. I was in a rough place the last 20 miles.
Oh, I believe it. I've been in that delusional state. I was doing an adventure race called Manduro, and it's
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's the one where for the listeners, it's a QR code, and you only know your next destination, and it's over the course of like 250 miles. And it was in the hottest summer in Raleigh. Raleigh's one of the hottest places in North Carolina. So humid. I ran out of water, and then we were on single track, and I just remember pushing my bike through single track trails, trying to get back to a water fountain, and that's probably the closest I've come to hallucinations and like delusional. And it was a pretty scary place to be in, on like all honesty. And then you look back on it, you're like, that wasn't good.
Yeah, I look back on it, I'm like, wow, that was stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why would I do that? Oh
Yeah.
my god.
It's pretty terrifying at the time.
Yeah. In the moment, you're like, because the moment I run out of water, I'm not sure if you're the same way. I'm like, oh no. Like a switch just flips. And I'm like, I'm now in danger.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and then you're like, "Now I have to conserve everything." Like, every stroke has to be efficient, and I have to, like, either know where I'm going to a gas station. The very first 100 I did was after I crit raced in Raleigh, and so it's just when COVID first hit, so all the water fountains had been shut down. They taped them all off, no water, anything, and so I went down to this town in North Carolina called Clayton, and then I
Mhm.
was living in Cary, North Carolina, and so I went down with 2 full water bottles, and it was what, probably April or May. I think it was in May, so it was pretty hot. And I was getting to that point where I was like, okay, I'm about to start getting delusional. But I was like, I know I have 20 miles until a gas station, then I can fill up on water. But by
Mhm.
that point, I was so spent. It was like I was crawling home for the last 15 miles. I was probably doing like a 7 mile per hour pace because the
It
damage had already been done.
oof. It's such a slog,
It
and
really is.
it it's literally the worst feeling to have of like I need water. My nose is now no longer running.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like, so every hill it feels like a death by a billion paper cuts.
But you still, what you average like 14, 15 mile per hour the whole race, I think.
Something like that. My normalized power was 220.
Like, that's stellar. I would have been like
Yeah,
70 watts after I ran out of water. I would
I
just literally be walking.
I was beyond floored. I'm glad that like that point of the race is starting to get dark. It was starting to cool off because it was like 80 degrees that day, which it's not I peak a summer of 95 with 100% humidity, but it's only now starting to get hot. So like no one's body is used to the heat.
Yeah, it definitely takes a little bit. I mean, we've gone over a few things, but like, what else went wrong? Because I know that you ran out of water, you ran out of food, you made a wrong turn. Did anything else go wrong for you during this
Oh, a
race?
few things. So I didn't plan for there to be any water crossings or like any real water features. Of course, that's a stupid idea, knowing that like you, the director's like, I'm gonna make this as crazy as possible. So like at least 20 water crossings. Going up like the first climb is just wet. So my dry lube is gone, and my bike's
Oh,
making
yeah.
this horrible noise, and I'm like, ugh. And it won't shift into the 10 tooth and stay there. It'll just skip until like you clean it a bit. And I, lucky for me, I had a little bottle of squirt with me. So I like every store stop, I just quickly throw some on the chain. But past that, like 18 miles to go, I was TTing in the bike lane and I smashed into a bottle, and my
Oh,
front
goodness.
tire just went flat. And I'm like, oh no,
Was this in the dark?
yeah, it was in the dark.
Oh, goodness.
So I try to plug it. The plug does not hold. I'm like, whatever, dude. I don't know how far back the guy behind me is, so I'm just gonna ride it flat. Because I've made 8 miles of wrong turn, so I figured I was or like 10 miles out. I was like, I can ride that for 10 miles, whatever. It has like 5 psi. I'm running on a 2.2 inch tire. It'll hold. Every corner, it's like trying to throw you off the bike,
Yeah, yeah,
trying to
definitely.
kill you, and every small bump is bottoming the rim out. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
no!
please don't crack the rib.
But I'm like, I gotta finish. I'm not plugging this. I'm not gonna repair this on the side of the road. I don't know how long this might take. Might not even. I might still have glass in the tire when I put the tube back in. I don't know. It's 20 hours in. See if my brain's not working. So I just kind of pedaled it on a flat. I finally roll up and I'm like to the finish, and I don't even think I won at this point because there's technically one person in front of me and in front of Jonathan. His name was Tim. He pulled out at Covington. He's just like, I'm done. This is enough race for me.
Oh,
But I had
wow.
no idea.
And he was in front of Jonathan?
Yeah, so I was chasing him through the night, and I was like,
Oh,
I can't.
wow.
He's like, he must be close, because at one point I held like 300 watts for 20 minutes. Like, I don't know if anyone else is doing that during a 20-something hour race, but like, I had to be gaining some ground,
Yeah,
literally
you would think
flogging
so.
myself. Yeah.
Especially if he was at like a store stop or getting water or something like that. You could definitely
Mm-hmm.
make some good time on someone.
Because I assumed that like I saw tire tracks in the forest at one point, and I'm like, this must be him. Not thinking that other people could ride their bike at any other point in time during the day.
Throughout the whole year.
Yeah, no one else could do this. This is only today, only now.
Yeah, this is just this race trail. This is just the Rockstar Trail.
And I was like, he must be there. He must be right up the road, just a block away. What else? My derailleur battery died with a few miles to go, which is annoying, but not race critical at that point.
Then it turned into a single speed.
Yeah, it turned to a single speed. And
Hopefully it was on a good gear.
It was, which I was very lucky about.
That's
because I had a derailleur battery somewhere in the bag, and I'm feeling through it. And I'm like, somewhere, can't find it, whatever. Just kept going.
It was probably safer anyway.
Yeah.
Just to finish up, especially if you're close.
Yeah, I was like, I don't need it. I can struggle through it. So that was like the list of my mechanicals. Overall, nothing too bad. Not like my derailleur didn't rip off or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, that would have been icing on the cake if it broke and then you somehow made your entire bike a true single speed and then finished the race. That would have been pretty epic. But still, dude, it was epic anyway for doing 90 miles.
I'm so floored about it.
Yeah. And then I think it's just, and you said his name was Tim that was in front of it. I think it's amazing that you were trying to track him down all night and then he pulled out. And I mean, that pretty much just solidified your race, like your win anyway.
At one point in the forest, I saw like some like camper with a headlight. And I'm like, that's him. And I go by him, and like the guy's just cooking up some Wheaties on like a fire, and I'm like, oh, that's not him.
You're like, now I have to go harder still.
Yeah, I literally I remember looking down after seeing that light, and I saw like 450 watts. I'm like, this is not sustainable, but he's right there.
Yeah, you got to get there. And then because once you see him, it's kind of a sigh of relief. You're like, okay, now I see him. I have him in my sight. I can get him over the course of like, I don't know, 60
few hours.
Yeah, exactly. So, but okay, so now that you've finished the race, and this is a weird question because you won. Usually it's for people that don't win. But because you won the race, is there anything you would have changed about your setup or your training leading into it?
My setup for sure. I brought 2 bottles. That was wrong.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
My 3rd bottle, you know those little like down tube containers you can have? I filled it with scratch super fuel. And the day before, I'm talking to my buddy. He's looking over my bike just for a second set of eyes. And he's like, the moment this thing gets wet, anything in there is drenched. And I'm like, oh, okay. I get like my last water resupply in, and I open up the top, and it's dry. And I'm like, no way. So I probably would have ditched that canister full of like drink mix and had a 3rd bottle or even a hydration pack. I haven't looked into any hydration packs yet, but
like the Camelbacks on the bladders and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at one for probably Unbound XL.
I saw that you got the bid into that.
So I messaged Cane Creek because because earlier in the year I asked Unbound to swap me from the 200 to the 350, and they're like, nope, no transfers. I messaged Cane Creek, and they're like, yeah, we'll shoot out an email to our marketing department. And later that day, I get an email from Garmin, and they're like, yep, you are now in Unbound XL. And I'm like, nice,
dude, that's awesome.
Any other gear changes I would have made? Better filter, dude. That Sawyer filter, I'm so disappointed. It took like 5 minutes to fill the bottle, and like I broke it anyway.
And is that the one? So like you fill up the bag and screw the filter onto it, and then you squirt it into your bottle?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I have that one, and it does take an extremely long time.
It's so disappointing. I'm not sure what to get like in place of it, but because like I want something small and fast.
Yeah, and light too, because you can't have all that weight on your bike. But then like the ones that you put the piece in the water and then the other piece in the bottle and pump it like that, that's just too heavy and bulky. And yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I might just swap the drops. Like it doesn't get dirt out, but if you get a moving water source, it should be okay.
Oh yeah, and then you could just literally leave it on your bike for 20 minutes before you drink it. Then it should be good.
Yeah,
that's a good bet.
I think that might be the play. You can't break those either.
Oh yeah, that's true. Put them in a Ziploc bag. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else you would change?
I was real happy with my tire setup. Happy with the aero bars.
What about your training? Is there anything you would have done differently training wise? Like,
not at all actually. I'd stack a ton of high volume weeks, throw in a few days of intensity. I'd go for like 20 to 25 hours each week. Okay. Try to get one long ride in every week. And that really felt like my training going into it was real solid.
Yeah, I kept looking at your rides. I'm like, my goodness, I didn't know what you were training for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, he is putting on some miles. And that's the beauty of Strava. You can like, I've only raced with you once and had like
Mm-hmm.
just a few random interactions on like Instagram and stuff, but I love Strava because you can see people that you've previously rode with and you're like, what are they doing? Like, what are they getting ready for? Because it's
Yeah,
like
I'm like,
those are some
ooh.
serious miles.
I love looking at some people and I'm like, this guy's doing 1,500 watts for his sprints. Oh my god, what is he getting ready for?
Yeah,
This man.
exactly. Or it's like, I thought they had a full time job. They're riding like 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
So what was it like riding at night? Like I've done a few rides early in the morning, 4:30, but I've never ridden from sun down to sun up. And it's pretty seems pretty scary.
It's crazy. This was actually my first ride with like this is my frame bag with a battery in it and this light.
Oh, nice. I was gonna ask if
Which
you had a dynamo.
this was a headlamp actually, made
Oh,
by
that's cool.
LED Lenser. And they make a little adapter that like you can take it off the band and GoPro mount it. Um, and it has like a throw, like one optics throwing, one optics like a wide beam. So I thought I should say that real quick before um I go into like what it's like. Um, and it's crazy like how dark it is because you know dark, but that's black. You look
Yeah,
behind you and you're like, there's nothing there. It it's cool though, in that like every corner is a complete surprise.
definitely. Especially if you don't know the route beforehand.
Yeah. Um, it made me a bit more confident descending because I just couldn't see the rocks. And I would just monster truck over them with 2.2-inch tires. I'd be like, "Oh, that was a rock. Okay, okay." But overall, it's a real interesting feeling of like you're out here and you hear like random bushes rustle and you're like, "That's something."
Yeah, definitely. I always heard that like I would leave my house at like 4:30 in the morning and then I'd go on the Greenway in Raleigh and I wouldn't put my headphones in just so I could hear because like a deer it's not crazy that deer would just run out in front of you. And like you could always see their beady eyes in the woods and it's like I know that's probably a deer, but it's kind of intimidating.
Oh, and it's very scary to see like in the distance like two eyes and you're like, what is that? My
Yeah, or like three
caveman
pairs of
brain
eyes and
kicks
it's like,
in.
"What?" Yeah.
Like I just go, ook, don't like,
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, it's
scary.
probably a pack of wolves or lions or something."
Oh yeah, dude, I was about to die right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's actually just like some deer or rabbits or something.
Yeah, squirrels and like frogs, snakes, whatever.
Yeah.
Were you ever worried about animals at all? Did you have any like random encounters or anything like that?
Yes. So I turned the corner right like around 7:30 p.m. Because it was just about to get dark. I was trying to preserve my light and not turn it on then. And I see this like what I think to be a weird dog coming through the apex of the corner. It's actually a black bear, and I'm like, oh. And then her cub is there, and I'm like, oh, that's the only time they're dangerous.
Yeah, when you get in between the cub and the
Mm-hmm.
mom, holy
And
cow.
she runs into the forest. The cub sits there, and I'm like, no, no, no. And she then turns around, and I'm full on the brakes in the corner. I'm like, not like this. And she then pushes the cub into the forest and runs off. And I'm like, wow, that is. I didn't know bears were that big because I've never seen a bear before.
Oh man, I want to see your heart rate at that moment.
It was probably spiked.
Yeah, through the roof cuz mine would be beating out of my chest.
I had ice in my veins. I was beyond scared. Either between hitting the bear hitting me, or any combination of that. And I was like, I don't want to be here right now. I want to be away from them. And as soon as I got like next to them, I just started sprinting. I was like, I gotta get away from this.
So you were into a turn, you saw the bear, and then you slammed on your brakes.
Yeah, I was like,
Wow.
just tried to straighten it out so I don't like whip
Lay
to
it
the
down,
side.
yeah.
Yeah. And just didn't want to scare the bear. And she ended up just going away into the forest with her cub. But that was a surreal experience if I've ever had one.
Yeah, no kidding. I think in that scenario that's a best case scenario,
Yes.
but very very scary.
Yeah, oh man, dude, that was nightmare fuel.
And what time in the morning or at night was this?
Like 7:30 p.m. So like dusk. It's just getting dark. Where all like the bugs are flying out. So two dark door sunglasses when I
Oh
didn't have any
yeah.
clear lenses.
Man, I couldn't imagine. Like, what if that happened at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Oh god.
Yeah, like what time did you finish the race?
I finished at like 4:01 ish. Like right a few minutes past four.
I couldn't see like running into a bear after being extremely dehydrated and all that, like close to the race, like 240 some miles under your belt.
Mhm.
You might have thought that that was a hallucination.
Yeah, no, I probably would have.
So maybe it was best that it happened at that time.
When I was still like lucid.
Yeah. But you somewhat know what's going on.
Hmm.
Wow, that's like I've seen some Instagram posts. I think it was Leah Wilcox. She was doing the Great Divide and she biked up on a mountain lion and it just popped out and she just like got off her bike and just pretty much like spoke and acknowledged that it was there so we would hear her and see her. And then she said it just started walking down the trail and she was like, okay, I'm going to walk behind it too. And I'm like, that's one thing.
Ah.
Yeah. Like doing the Great Divide and all these like crazy long bike packing races. I want to do it so bad, but there's that element of it that I'm like, I don't know if I have the stones for it.
Yeah, like I'm legit kind of scared of like sleeping out past like spending the night outside. I'm like I don't know if I can do that, then get back on my bike the next day and keep going.
Yeah, exactly. There's and just the mental wear on you, but then
Yeah.
also like you're in a place where you're probably going to have to get helicoptered out if a grizzly or a mountain lion or something gets a hold of you. Good luck to the rescue team finding your body.
Yeah.
So it's
Like
like, oh, it's pretty. I don't
they're a
know.
better fighter than I am. I can't fight.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they do for their day job.
Yeah, just to survive. So
They just kill.
yeah, and we're just like sitting behind a desk on a computer.
Literally, like right now, where
Yeah,
I ride my bike, like these arms aren't gonna kill anything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's I don't know. You got to be a special type of person to be able to do that. I'm
Dude,
trying to figure out how to do that, but
the balls, like I have the utmost respect for anyone who like can bike pack and or even bike pack. It's incredible to me.
have you ever
Like
bike packed?
I have not. I actually so my joke was to some of the guys the day before this race is I'm finishing in 24 hours because I don't own any camping gear.
That's awesome. You stay true to your word.
I did.
That's pretty fantastic. That's the best reason to just bum rush an entire race and get it done.
I don't even own a bivy. They're like, "You sure you don't want to bring a bivy?" I'm like, "Don't got one, so no."
That's what I take. I take a bivy, even though like, and the reason why I got that bivy was because of Lachlan Morton. He
Mhm.
posted on Instagram. He was like, "I got this bivy from REI," and I was like, "Well, if he has it and he takes it bike packing, then I'm
It
going to
must
do
be
that
good.
too." Yeah, and
If Lachlan Morton's doing it.
yeah, there it doesn't ventilate well. It gets so hot. You're literally like a burrito, but it packs down and it's so light. So I guess it's pros and cons to everything.
Hmm. Probably life saving in the cold.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. And it has a warning label on it that says, "Don't zip this thing up all the way, or you will suffocate."
Ooh. Oh my god, that's a
Yeah,
metal warning.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. But so after finishing the race, was it this was your first like ultra endurance race, correct?
Yeah.
So like, what did you learn about yourself, and like, what were your expectations going into the race?
My expectations were I just wanted to finish. Like I no matter like any race, I'll try and race as hard as I can. Because I just have that competitive mindset of like I want to do well. It's fun to do well. It's fun to race. But I'm legitimately floored at how deep I could go, and like I could tell there was probably a bit more there. Like if push came to shove, and like I did see someone in front of me, I probably could have pushed that much harder. But like I went real deep, and it's shocking. Of like I hear all these interviews from ultra like successful ultra athletes of like you think you're at your limit, you're only halfway there. That's completely true. Like you think you're at your limit, you can go so much deeper and just shock yourself with how much you're capable of if you really want it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah.
I was reading something where it was like once you're I think it was like a Navy SEAL book or something, but it was like once you're ready to quit, you can still go like another 50 or 75%.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, that's huge. Like we're so strong and capable if you can break that mental barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're not going to get like a true injury,
Yeah.
like need a new hip replacement or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
My friend always jokes with me saying, "Don't be soft, Thorpe. Add another 50 miles." Or like, "Don't be soft. Chase that down." And I'm like, "I'm gonna do it." And it's because he said it.
see, I'm the same way. Like if someone's like I joke with my wife and I think she tells me that I can't do something, so I'll push myself and do it.
Yeah.
And I think she's learned that. So now she's like, do you really think you can? And I'm like, boom, okay, here we go.
Okay,
Gotta
that's
do it.
happening now.
Yeah.
Now that you said it, it's gotta happen. There's
Yeah,
no
it's
way I'm
like,
not.
yeah, I can't let that defeat me. And it's not even
Hmm.
in like a negative connotation or anything. It's just I think she's finally learned like if she says something, I will do everything to beat that.
Oh yeah, like if it's capable or even possibly not even capable of me doing it, I'm doing it.
Yeah, I'll still go out there and give it my best shot.
Oh yeah, I'm not scared to fail.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you definitely have to. Just
Yeah.
in just in life, but especially with ultra endurance. Like last year, I was trying to ride for like 3 to 400 miles. Only got to like 220, 225,
Hmm.
but that was still my new highest. I failed, but it was still a success. But I'm like, you just have to go out there and try. I mean, just try to break the mental ceiling, push yourself a little bit. Just,
See what you can do,
yeah, exactly.
because it's not every day that you get to you see what you're actually made of, see what you can do. And it's such a like important thing to like the mental toughness is a hard thing to build. It's a hard thing to even test. So if you ever get given the opportunity, I'd say try it. At the very least, you can always back out.
Yeah,
But
exactly. And I mean, that's the beauty of cycling too. It's that I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to get into cycling. I have to wear all these spandex. I have to join a team and like all this stuff. And it's like, you really don't. Like
yeah,
most
you
of the
don't.
time, yeah, when I try to push myself, I'll just go out there and ride. Like the past two times I did a double century, I had one buddy towards the end of the ride, but I just went out there by myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it today and I'm just going to ride as long as I can.
So you said last time you had a double century, you went out by yourself.
Yeah, so I went out both times. I've only biked over 200 twice,
Hmm.
and both times I just pretty much went out there that day and was like, I'm going to ride as long as I can, and I'm just going to see what it's like. And if I don't like it, cool. But of course, I went back home and I'm like, I think I could have done more. I should have just stayed out there for just like another hour and seen what happened.
Hmm. I find for stuff like that, it's easier to make a route and then follow it than it is to say, I'm going to do X or Y or Z while trying to add on to it. Because I'm like, I'm running out of places. And that involves me going near my apartment at some point, and that's dangerous territory.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's an easy escape.
It is. And like, I can't have that. I got to be all the way out there.
Exactly, and definitely following a route too, because I went out I was just on the greenway and just did back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that was like, talk about boring. I ride those all the time.
Yeah.
It was so boring. But yeah, if I had a route, I feel like for 400 miles, I probably would have been more successful.
It holds you accountable too. Of like, once you're halfway, you're like, it's just as fast to finish as it is to go back.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point to look. That's a good way to look at it. You got to break it up into sections. Like, okay, if I
mhm.
could just reach that, let's see how we feel. Okay, well
I do that with
now,
store stops.
oh yeah,
That's honestly the biggest way for me to do it is if I break it up into like 4 store stops, I'm like, now it's 50 miles to this store stop, and then another 50 to this one, and then 65 to that one. It instead of saying I got another 188 miles to go, like that's a bad way to look at
yeah. Until you get to that point where you're like, okay, well now it just makes sense to keep going because I'm X away from it, so I'm not going to turn around.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what is your fuel like when you go out for a long ride? What do you usually take?
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts, okay.
So
We'll try to
I
get
have
you
a
a sponsor with
box.
Pop-Tarts.
Dude, I would love a sponsor with Pop-Tarts, a sponsor with Pedialyte. Hook me up with all these household brands. So I actually have a box of Pop-Tarts right here.
Oh, nice.
And sometimes I grab on brand, sometimes I don't. But the interesting thing about Pop-Tarts is you can typically digest around 60 to 90 grams of carbs an hour max. And Pop-Tarts are 400 calories, and these are in particular 72 grams of carbs. But
That
they're
is good to
so
know.
dense. Like, they stack well in your pocket. You can fit like an entire crate of this just in your side pockets.
That's good to know.
For liquid, I'll grab literally any drink mix and I'll just mess up the ratio and add too much powder to water. Like I did Kool-Aid this winter. I used Tang. I love.
I've tried
Splash and
Tang.
stuff.
Besides it tasting delicious, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah,
Besides the little sugar burst, but
yeah. Like it's not hydrating in any way, but it tastes really good, and that's half the battle of drinking something.
yeah, exactly.
Like I don't do gels much because they're just expensive.
They are really expensive.
My buddy gave me like a box of gels. He's like, these taste horrible. Please take them.
Thanks.
And I'm like, oh, thanks, dude. Appreciate that. And I use those until like I run out, but I don't rush out to buy more.
Yeah, I think I usually don't buy gels. I just put it on my wish list for like birthdays and Christmas, and if people get them for me, great. If not, no big deal.
Yeah, at store stops, I'll grab honey buns. I just like the texture. I like how they taste. They're really easy to devour. But the side effect is that they have a lot of fat in them, and over longer rides, you want to get something more than just carbs because it helps. At least it helps me with the stomach. And they still are carb heavy, but the added fats are real nice.
That's a good point too. After eating like on those long rides, your stomach starts to turn on you because of all the sugar
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much just lack of nutrition and vitamins, and you're only putting one substance in, and yeah, your stomach will pretty much flip, and you'll get sick to your stomach pretty easily.
Yeah. Like when I finished, at first I couldn't even stomach to eat anything, but I finally got some water in me, and I ate like 3 ham and cheese sandwiches, like grilled ham and cheese sandwiches, and they had no sugar in them, and it was beautiful.
How many calories did you burn on that ride?
14,000 some change.
That's amazing.
And I probably ate like 3 or 4,000.
Yeah, that's madness. Your body is at such a deficiency.
Yeah, I had like 2,000 calories for breakfast. I ate just a box of cereal.
Wow.
I do that most days, to be fair. Like, to be completely real with you, I eat a box of cereal almost every day because I just like how it tastes and it's great carbs. And I ride so often. But, yeah, like, I did that. I had 10 SIS gels, 4, packets of a Tailwind, so like 400 calories per bottle. I ate 4 Pop-Tarts, probably 6 Powerades, 3 Red Bulls, and that was it.
I love Red Bulls when it comes to rides.
Red Bull is my crack.
Yeah, it's my like I can't buy it because it's a slippery slope. Like I'll just find myself continually. Yeah, I'll chug it and then I'll just keep buying.
Yeah. Like I'll only buy it while I'm out riding. Like I can't have it in my apartment, otherwise I will just devour it because it tastes good, but I also don't need a gram of caffeine in my life.
Exactly.
It's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah. I find myself like when I ride and getting to gas stations and stuff, I find myself only buying certain stuff when I ride. Like I'll get either a Coke or a vanilla Coke or a Red Bull. Those are the only times I get that is when I'm out riding, or like beef jerky, combos, Nutter Butters. Like I think those 3 are my main sources of fuel.
Oh, those are so good.
Yeah, I love them. And I mean, like, if stuff were easier to eat and like light and packable, I would probably take it. Like, but I go through the phases when I ride of, oh, okay, I'm getting kind of hungry. I really want a pizza right now. Oh, I want some Mexican right now. Oh, steak and baked potato. That sounds good. Oh, like I'll go through every type of food and I'm like, I want that at some given point on my ride.
Cheese fries are like my go-to craving on the bike. I'm like, ooh, some cheese fries with some jalapenos on there. That would be
Mm,
so good right now.
yeah, that sounds good.
But they're not really pocketable.
No, I mean, that's another thing. I saw a ride. I think it was Lachlan Morton. He put on his top two bag. He just put some fries and just salt and ketchup on him.
Ooh, nice. I mean, the bags would be schnasty afterwards.
Oh
But
yeah, you'd have to wash it.
oh well, part for the course with ultra racing.
But I mean, he's sponsored, so he probably gets new bags every time he goes out.
Yeah, I know. Lael Wilcox. I saw like a video of her just putting hot dogs into a bag and just
Oh
eating
yeah,
those as she rode, and I'm like, you know, pretty far into a ride like that, and that seems like a pretty nice thing to have because it's not sugary.
well, she was
It's just
saying that she drinks whole milk or half
yeah,
and half
she
or something.
does.
Yeah, like I'm
It
lactose
is
intolerant, but
yeah.
I couldn't imagine that. Just I don't
The
know. There,
texture alone seems so odd to have like while riding.
yeah, and especially because like I guess I've trained my body to think of like tailwind and all these citrusy flavors or just plain water. Granted, I
Hmm.
do like Dunkin' Donuts coffee, that lattes, and I'll pour it in my bottle
Oh,
if I'm
I
at a
love
gas station.
those.
Yeah, I'll pour those in there, but and I guess that is kind of like a whole milk type of consistency, but just drinking straight milk on a ride. She says it feels great on her legs, but and it's like good calories or whatever, but
It must work because like
she's
she's
winning everything.
destroying these events. So like I can't say that doesn't work because obviously it does.
All right, so we're gonna have you back later on the podcast after you do Unbound XL, and you're gonna drink milk the entire time, and you're gonna let us know how it goes. You'll be our guinea pig. You're gonna test it out.
Put it into a hydration bladder. Oh, that'd be so.
Yeah.
It's gonna get chunky in this.
Oh yeah, it will curdle probably. Ugh. You're gonna have to put a filter on it. So you're gonna test this out at Unbound, and then you're gonna come back and give us a report and let us know how it goes. So we know like this is true and this is how we got to ride.
Place your predictions. How well do you think it's gonna work?
If it's in a bladder, I don't know.
As
Especially if
opposed
it
to a
gets
carton in the pocket.
well, I'm like maybe if you do it and you buy it like a bottle per gas station, that would probably work just because it would be cool and you can pound it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you pour like 2 gallons in your bladder and have it over the course of 4 hours, that's going to be so gross. It's going to be like cottage cheese.
Oh, that's gonna be so hateful to drink too. Just out of the straw, I'd be like,
You would be reeking of like, I don't know. It probably smells so bad.
the bladder's gotta go. Like after that race, it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
trash.
Yeah, immediately throw it away. Do you have like any other details or any other thing you want to talk about with the race or like,
All I'd say is go out there and at least try. Like ultra endurance is super intimidating. I've always wanted to try it. It seemed like the in my opinion like the peak form of like bike racing because bike's an endurance sport. But even if you're not racing it, go out there, ride your bike, challenge yourself. Like you can learn so much about yourself in just one day. It is truly incredible.
definitely. And so what does the rest of your year look like for races and just any challenges that you want to do?
I have Unbound XL in like about a month from now, a month and one day from this date of recording.
Oh wow, okay. And
Which
that's 350 miles.
yep, like probably 18K of climbing, which is half the climbing of Rockstar of like 100 feet a mile, 28K.
Yeah, so that's
But
nothing.
yeah, it's nothing. That's easy at that point. I'm
Yeah.
almost done.
Yeah, exactly. No
Might as well
biggie.
take my finishing medal there and just be on the podium. Past that, I got Gravel Worlds in August. I'm doing the 300 mile out there.
And
'Cause
where's Gravel Worlds at?
It's in Nebraska. I had to think about that for a second because I forget that state's name all the time. I'm sorry, anyone who lives in Nebraska. Memory's not there. I saw on the website they're like, only half the people who entered finished, or even less than that. I'm like, that seems like a challenge. I'm doing that.
So I saw last year that there's like three. There's Gravel Worlds, there's Unbound XL, and there's one more. I can't
Mhm.
think of it's like another 300 plus.
Rockstar, obviously.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know, but it's like there was a guy. He's older, like 50s, maybe 60s,
Hmm.
and he did all three, and it's in the span of like 2 months, 1 month, something like that. Yeah,
The
and
recovery.
yeah, I mean he total stud, but
What
it's
a
insane.
what a,
I'll have to find that and send it to you.
please do. Yeah, those are my only races really coming up. I was speaking to someone on Team 2024. Her name's Emily. I wanted to like ride the entire parkway with her. Like she goes north, I go south. We eventually meet up and just finish riding it. That seemed like something that might happen this year, might not. I don't know,
That's always been on
but
my bucket list.
I'd love to do that. Other than that, I can't think of any other challenges. Because I did a lot of the personal challenges I had set up to do this year. Like
And what were some of those challenges, if you don't mind me asking?
one of them was to like 10 hours on a bike, which would be like a hard ride. You know who Grant Fanning is by any chance? He runs Tusk. Like on let me pull up the site.
Yeah, I don't. The name's not ringing a bell.
He has stuff like this. I'll put it in chat. He runs this, the Upland Contingency, and I combined two of his routes, and that was a goal ride of mine. Ended up coming at like 10 hours and some change.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Another one was I wanted to like ride, like do a loop and crozet ride home. Originally, the plan was to ride there, then bum a ride off my friend's back, because. But I ended up riding home, and that was a real good experience to have of mental toughness because the ride back was really rough. I couldn't eat anything,
Oh,
like just GI lockup. Um, so that was a learning experience. Some other ones I wanted to do is ride out to Harrisonburg, do Thunder Ridge with some friends. That ended up never materializing because the day that happened, it snowed up there. So,
of
but
course.
stuff like that, like just crazy long rides, seeing or learning how my body feels, and ultimately doing these ultra races were my goals of this year. And so far, I've been hitting those boxes, and it feels great.
So now, when you make goals for the year, you pretty much are like, I just want to do long rides. I want it to be an adventure. I want it to be a good
Mm-hmm.
story, and I want to push myself. That's just how you pretty
Yes.
much make goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
I try not to focus on like a watt number or anything. Like, obviously, I'm pretty strong from just FTP perspective, but I try not to look at it like I want to hit 375 this year, something crazy, because
Yeah,
that's
I
not
stopped doing
realistic.
that once COVID hit. I was like, I see it's going to be very easy to get burnout on the bike. So I'm just going to do what my legs feel. I'm going to do what I find is fun. And ever since doing that, like the miles have just been racking up tremendously.
Yeah, like you can't worry about the numbers like that. They're cool to look at, they're cool to have, but I try not to obsess about them because yeah, but just going out there having fun, that's priority number one because that's ultimately what everyone owns a bike for.
Yeah, definitely. And then once you start comparing numbers, it's always the
It's
comparison game, and it doesn't help
I'm not,
anything.
yeah, like this guy's 10 pounds lighter, he did 5 watts more, or I'm like, you can't compare power meters at all in general.
Yeah, and like even I mean, there's so many different factors that go into that regardless. Like terrain, route,
Position,
position, are they drafting, fuel, weight, height.
so much.
Yeah.
It's literally irrelevant to compare. Like this number means something to me, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. And so now that you've broken into the ultra endurance realm, are you done doing crits and road races and all this stuff, or are you just going to keep doing them as you see fit?
I think I'm done with the road racing in general, mainly because it road racing would be more my thing than crits because it's a longer format. I do well with longer events, obviously, but I just hitting the pavement at 30 plus, kind of scary.
Yeah, or running
If
into
I
a bear in the woods.
if I crash on gravel, it's probably my fault, and it's probably at like 17 miles an hour at most. Like I could take the blame, but if someone like clips someone else's wheel right in front of me, that's gonna hurt, and I don't even have control over that. So the control is a big thing to me. Of like, I can
Yeah.
control. Ted King said this: you control who's around you, how fast you're going, and that's a lot more comforting to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Cuz like there's just something about crits that I love.
They're
It's
so fun.
they're so fun, they're so sketchy, they're so scary, especially cuz like you have to trust people around you. Like you were saying, someone could clip your
Yeah,
wheel and then the whole pack is out. Like cracked carbon wheels, chains broken, flat tires, broken bones, who knows? But like
yeah.
there's just something about it. It's like the Wild West and it's just so much
Like
fun.
anything could happen, and like it's a short enough time period where you can gas yourself. You can go so hard. It because you get to drive home most of the time. You're driving home. Like it doesn't. You're not like, oh, I gotta get home after this. It's let's just send it, see what happens, and just launch stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there's technique to it too. You can it's how you corner, you can just draft
Oh, the
off of
technique's
people.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I'm like, am I still going to do crits? I don't know. I
I
want
think,
to.
yeah, like I'm scared to, but I want to. Like,
Yeah, there's just that drive and passion for crits that I can't seem to shake.
and crits are the fun part about crits too is that you can put a GoPro on your bike and you can show like someone everything. Like I can't show you half this race that I did. I don't even remember half this race I did. It's just a blur. Um, but it's a cool format because it doesn't cost much money to do relative to like a road closure. People want to do it because not everyone wants to do an ultra event like gravel, and it's accessible. Like a
Yeah, it
Cat
definitely
5
draws a
with a
crowd.
CAD 8 can get out there, try something, and if they can't finish, it's just you walk back to the car.
Yeah. And there's always a crowd. Like
Yeah, there's always
people
a crowd.
love
I love that.
yeah, it's so awesome. It's like it's the one true cycling sporting event because with road races it's like okay they're starting see ya and then
Yeah,
you'll get them at the finish line but there's 40 to 80 who knows how many miles in between and it's just
it's
boring.
empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like attacks aren't happening. Nothing's happening because no one wants to pull the entire field around.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I this might be for you too, but I'm real extroverted. I love having the people there cheering. It's electric to me.
Yeah, absolutely, because I mean I guess it's not when you're because like the very first crit actually I've done like three crits where I've gotten dropped and like so the first one was Winston-Salem. I did that crit and I did it on a gravel bike and because it's the only bike I had, and I'm like, I want to see
Hmm.
what this crit thing's about. And so I did it, got dropped, and there I was like, well, this is humiliating because I don't want the crowd here. I don't want anyone here.
Yeah. Oh, shield my face as I come
Yeah.
in.
And then they're like, here, get off the track, and it's like, yeah, no, gladly, I'm going to go home. But then the other two, it was my wife and I. We lived out in Colorado for the summer in 2019, and of course, being from North Carolina, I'm not trained up on elevation, so I brought a knife to a gunfight and they dropped me like a bad habit. I'm like, there's no way I could
Oh,
have kept up with them. So I was like, there's no shame in this. The
yeah,
Winston
no,
one, I
like
was sad, but
they got the long adaptations too, man. Like you're up there.
yeah, for real. I mean, that's all they ride. Just elevation,
Yeah,
climbing mountains, climbing the Rockies.
like that's all you can do. Like you come out there as a flatlander and you're like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I was doing everything I could to keep up with them. And they were just like, after the first lap, I just pretty much waved them off. I was like, all right, I'll see you guys at the finish line because there was no way I was going to be able to keep up.
Totally get that, man. That I've been there, done that. I'm not an incredible climber by any stretch of the imagination. There's people way smaller than me who just fly up hills.
Well, you might not do it as fast, but you definitely can cover the elevation gain.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so close to Everesting. So I guess now you're gonna have to do something where you Everest.
Oh, so funny you say that. Last year I tried. And I'm known for having mechanicals on my bikes. Like it's a running joke in the local community of I just break bikes. I went out for an Everest. It's like at 3 in the morning. I'm out there in my you know the Favero hack where you can put like an SPD pedal on it.
No, I don't actually.
So like the Favero Asiomas, they share the same pedal body as an Expedo pedal. So
Okay.
you can buy both of those, swap the pedal bodies, and have
Oh,
SPD.
okay. I see what you're saying.
So I did that, and it was Everesting on my gravel bike. And at 3 in the morning, catastrophe struck because I didn't do it right. And
Oh,
the
goodness.
pedal body just rips off the spindle, and the bearings go everywhere. And I'm like, oh no! And
And this
that
was when you first
ended
started?
that. Yeah, it was literally like maybe 20 minutes in.
I mean, I would rather something go wrong 20 minutes in than be like, I'm at 26,000 feet climbing.
Yeah, I would have been so upset if that happened like 18 hours in. I would have been.
I would have had someone to bring me a new set of pedals and be like, I'll
I
reimburse you. I need to
yeah.
finish this.
I would have called up someone at Carrytown Bikes and been like, "Hey man, you have any demo pedals I can have? I will pay you to come out here."
Yeah, bring me flats. I don't care. I need to finish this 3,000. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's insane. I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, I ended up having an awesome ride later that day. When I was with some friends, we did like 100 and something miles, and that was a great time.
So now what made you want to do it on the gravel bike? Eversting.
So at the time, I had a older BMC than this with a 5236 and an 1128. And that would just been a slog up the hills because I only had one wheel set for it, only that cassette, and it was a short cage derailleur.
Oh, okay.
So the other option was a 40 tooth with a 10 or 1142 in the back. So I figured I should do that because it's just easier climbing gear, and bike would be lighter.
And so you said that you always have mechanicals. What are you do? Are you doing anything to try to fix that?
No. So hold on. Where is it? Every year on the dot. Time. My time pedals break. These dudes. The carbon leaf spring under this cover cracks.
Okay.
And it won't hold my foot right. So I call them up right after Rafa 500. And I'm like, hey, the carbon leaf spring broke, and they give me a new pair with a new set of cleats and just in a new box. So I have like probably 6 sets of these, or like 3 sets of these that are destroyed. It was stacks of cleats. This is like pretty notable mechanical for me. Other ones are like tons of flat tires just out of frame. Or actually, I recently cleaned that wall up. It's just a stack of a tire graveyard. What else? I cracked a chainring.
Oh wow, that's impressive.
2 frames. I don't know how I did it.
Pushing all those watts.
What else have I broken? 2 frames I've destroyed. I learned how to carbon repair a frame. It was my Yeti mountain bike I just bought. And
love
within
those.
500 miles, I cracked it.
Oh goodness.
I hit a rock the wrong way, and I called the guy. I'm like, "Will you teach me how to fix this?" And he's like, "I'm like, I'll pay the same price. I just want to know."
Yeah.
And we did that, and stronger than ever. I'm still bad at mountain biking.
Yeah, I'm terrible at mountain biking. And cyclocross, I'm horrible for it.
Yeah. Let me grab this. The weekend before Rockstar, I destroyed the other one of these shoes. The upper and the lower separated.
What type of shoes are those?
These are Shimano XC902s. Like they're Gucci mountain bike shoe. I literally, the upper and lower just.
Wow. So now with your pedals, this is the 3rd year that you've broken them?
Yeah.
So like why don't you change?
I love the lateral and angular float of them. And they clip in such a unique way. It's easy to get in and out. It feels right, even though, and they keep sending me them. So I'm like, I'm not.
As long as you have to pay for it, I guess it's worth it. Yeah.
And I keep getting free cleats.
that
so
helps
I'm like,
too.
why not?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That's funny because like I've had so many issues with like front derailleurs messing up and back derailleurs messing up. So now I just switched to a 1x. So I'm like, okay, it's less stuff to break. I only have 1 derailleur. If it messes up, at least I can make it a single speed. Enough, hopefully, and it's on a good gear that I can finish or do whatever I'm doing.
I hate front mechs.
I do
I'm
too.
say that right now.
Yeah.
They are the devil's creation.
No, absolutely. nothing.
They can be too high, too low, too angled, bent, just
Yeah,
so many adjustments.
yeah, it's a pain. I hate them, and it's
Hmm.
just like I went bike packing with one of my buddies, and the chain kept slipping, and then the chain got stuck between the cassette and the wheel because, of course, I was changing gears, and then I hit a bump because like the shade from the tree covered that pothole, and you didn't see it, and then you smack
It's
it.
the perfect
Yeah,
combination of shade, hole, and they look like gravel.
yeah, and so I hit that perfect time, and then it took us a while to get it unstuck, but then my derailleur kind of bent, and it's just like if I had two of these to go wrong, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, I the moment 1x13 or 1x4 like 1x14 comes out, I think it'll be viable for road riding because I love my 1028 tight jumps because I'm a bit anal about my cadence on the pavement. Even on gravel, I run a 1036 with a 36 up front because I spin at like 100 RPM.
Oh wow, I think
Um,
I'm a 40 or 42 up front.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, I
That's what
feel
most
like
people run.
yeah, it's just the SRAM Apex. I have it on both of
Hmm.
my gravel bikes, but I wanted the GRX. But of course, you can't get anything right now. Still, the bike boom is still happening.
Yeah,
Do you rock your aero
especially
bars all the time?
so funny you say that. I don't know the torque spec to put them back on, so they are permanently fixed to my bike.
Nice,
I'm
nice.
scared to crack the bars.
Or just strip. I've stripped some before the screw.
Oh
Yeah, so I
god.
had to throw those away. It was a very sad day.
When I first got them, the people I ride with are saying you better take those off for the group rides. I'm like, no, 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 they're staying.
Yeah, I'm
I
leading the
don't want to take them
pack.
off. Yeah, dude. I'm new look.
Yeah, it's an additional 50 watts with these on.
Hmm. It's a style benefit.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like you're riding a
Makes
bull or something.
I don't know if you have this issue, but my triceps start to burn up after a while. Um, because the core gets tired, that gets beat up, and just being able to just do that and load it onto like your biceps, your skeletal structure, helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I do that a lot. And I try to change up my positioning pretty often just because I don't want a specific piece of my body to get sore. So I'll change into drops, I'll ride on the flats, I'll ride in the arrows, I'll ride on the hoods, and I just keep changing it up just so hopefully it will let me last longer before I start getting sore,
Yeah.
especially with the gravel, the constant barrage of uneven surfaces and potholes and who knows what, water crossings, but it's so hard on
Hmm.
your joints. And I think the worst thing for me is definitely hands, just from
Yeah.
holding on for dear life.
Do you use gloves?
Yeah.
I love my gloves. I'm all about riding with gloves.
What type of gloves do
And
you
that
rock?
oh they're probably in the wash. um I normally have my kit like literally right next to my bike.
Oh, nice.
But I have like a set of Yeti Enduro gloves. They're just full finger, no pad, but the grip they give means you don't have to grab the bars as hard. And they got rubber fingertips, so when you're on the drops like that, it's just so much easier to actuate.
I think I have. I mean, I know I have two pairs of hand up gloves, and so they have like the rubber textures on the gloves, so you get
I
better
love
grip.
hand gloves.
Yes, but I mean, I've worn mine so much that I've lost the rubber on it. But yeah, there's no pad. It's just pretty much a piece just to protect yourself and just to hold
Yeah,
on. So, I mean, if you're sweating and stuff, you're not going to slip off. But because that's probably the worst thing. I'll
my
take off
friend had that happen.
like slip off the bars.
Yeah, he went to bunny hops from the over like some railroad tracks, and he just
Ugh. When's the last
like
time you crashed?
salty. Trying to remember. I had a recent. So my last actual crash was 2 weeks ago on my mountain bike. I washed the front out, hit my ribs smacked into a tree, and then I
Ooh.
hit my head on the ground.
Oh goodness.
And I somehow didn't break my ribs. My helmet got dented, so new helmet day.
Nice.
Um, and I had a pretty minor concussion. Like after that day or 2 days, I was fine.
Wow.
Um,
Did you go to the
but
doctor?
I didn't. I was riding with a doctor actually,
Oh, well, I
and
guess
he
that kind of
starts
worked out.
checking me out. He's like, "Let me see if your ribs are broken." He starts like, and I'm like, "Nope, I'm nothing hurts horribly. I'm not screaming in pain." And he's like, I'm gonna drive you home, but Yeah,
He do the flashlight in your eyes.
yeah. He did like the eye tracking thing, and he's like, they're shaking a bit. You were probably minorly concussed. Nothing too serious from what I could tell. You still know your name. You still know who you are, what day it is, or sort of what day it is. That's a trick
Sorta.
question. Before that, probably I can't remember when it was, but the scar's not showing up on camera, but I cut up all of this. I crashed descending on my gravel bike. The front. This was a different time. The front just washed out.
Yeah, that it's easy to
Guys,
do descending on
yeah,
gravel.
it is. They just hit a giant section of deep gravel in a corner, and I just went whoop, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah.
But at least no broken bones.
Yeah, no broken bones. I am very lucky up to this point. Knock on fake wood. That I don't have any broken bones anytime soon.
Yeah, same.
What about you? What was your last crash?
Oh, that's a good question.
I'd love to hear it.
Probably. Oh, okay, so I told you I haven't done any races since our rogue crit in Raleigh.
Yeah.
The last crash I did was in the last race I did, which was the Winston-Salem Classic last year. It was like last September. And so I was riding with one of my buddies, and it was the end of the second lap, starting on the third lap. And that was actually the crash that you saw on Instagram that was on Crit Drama.
Oh, this crash.
Yeah.
I remember this crash.
Yeah, so my buddy was the first one that went into the barrier and actually ended up flipping the barrier because someone cut him off and nudged him into it. And I saw a different angle. And so the reason why I went into the barrier is because someone, had he kept riding and just kept just turning normally, he stopped, he clinched the brake levers and then unclipped his left leg, which jolted him into me. And then it forced me into the barrier. And so I was going back to go get into the race again, but I got a front flat and they weren't tubeless. So I was like, okay, I'm out of the race. I don't have any backups. Yeah. But luckily there was no damage. I mean, I took a good shot to the left ribs. But other than that, I mean, I think my hand hurt because I caught myself and my hand went through the barrier onto the concrete. But other than that, I think everything was good.
That's a very lucky situation to be in then.
Yeah, because I mean, you can see on the video that the barriers have those flat metal that like stands that they're on. And had I been like a foot forward, I would have taken that to the rib, and who knows, I could have got punctured, like stabbed by that, who knows.
Last year there was a crash in our local crit series at Bryant Park. There's these little wooden pylon things, and someone crashed right into that and broke their back.
Oh goodness. That hurts.
I think he can walk now, but man, that's a scary thing to crash into.
Yeah, see, that's the part of crits that I'm like, maybe I don't want to do that anymore.
That's legitimately why I'm scared of crits.
Yeah.
I'm literally about to sign up for one, and then that day, literally earlier that day, someone was like, this guy broke his back. I'm like, oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll go do a time trial.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like, I have a family to provide for. Like, I have food to put on the table and stuff. Like, I don't need to be doing a crit because I could be paralyzed for the rest of my life.
I don't have any of that, but like, I still enjoy walking.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking's pretty cool.
I like being able to use a spoon and a fork
instead of a straw.
Yeah. So I'm like, ugh, yeah, that's tough.
It is, man. Well, I gotta head out, dude. Thank you so much for your time. This was awesome.
Yeah, so you can find Chris on Strava and Instagram at VeloThorpe. But yeah, thank you, Chris, for being here and chatting with me. Great performance at the Rockstar Gravel. And I can't wait to hear about you doing Unbound on milk. So we'll be back for that.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you for having me here. This was a blast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great night, dude.
Thank you. You too.